NBA All-Star Weekend is over, and the Orlando Magic obviously didn't have much to do this weekend. How the Magic need to find their place among the stars, and Paolo Banchero's Team USA future today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 15th. It will be February 16th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about All-Star Weekend, the Orlando Magic's place among the stars, how the Magic get more star recognition, what they have to do the rest of the season, plus Paolo Banchero's Team USA future, because the format kind of gave us a preview of what the future Team USA looks like. We'll get to that, plus how All-Star Weekend actually worked this weekend. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate all of you who are our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers, who listen 5 days a week, who listen when we do weekend episodes like we will be doing this weekend when the Magic are back in action on the West Coast, who make us part of your daily podcast rotation, who make us your first listen of the day. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Orlando Magic didn't have much to do at All-Star Weekend. I was thankful for it. I got to enjoy a Friday night to myself. I got to have some fun for my Friday night. I'm planning a fun day Monday. I am enjoying my All-Star Weekend, but I still have time to sit here and chat with you. And I hope the Orlando Magic got their time to get their heads cleared over this weekend. Jace Richardson was obviously at the dunk contest. I thought he did pretty good, even though he somewhat hilariously and also terrifyingly fell on his second dunk attempt. We'll talk a little bit more about him toward the end of the episode. I know Noah Penda was there for support as well, but the Magic mostly got to scatter off to the wind, hopefully to some tropical location, reset their minds, and get ready for a big push after the All-Star break. We're going to talk all about that starting on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But you watch the All-Star game, and you can't help but think, what does All-Star Weekend say about the league? Because at the end of the day, like, this is kind of what All-Star Weekend is. You kind of figure out who the main characters are. Who are the guys that are going to be taking the kind of leadership of the league and dictating sort of the terms of the league? If we'll talk about the All-Star game and what worked and what didn't work about it here later on in the show. But if I could characterize the kind of LeBron James era of NBA basketball, it was him sort of ruling as a king. Everyone kind of was in orbit around him, and he set the tone for everything. And so if he didn't care, the league didn't care. The rest of the players didn't care. Again, I say this a million times, and we're going to talk Paolo, but I say this a million times. You take your cues from your leaders. And All-Star Weekend is where you find out where you are in the pecking order. Why was Dwight Howard never able to attract another star? Just watch how he interacted with people at All-Star Weekend. Everyone was kind of annoyed with him. Paolo Banchero's had one All-Star Weekend, so I'm not sitting here saying where is he in the pecking order or he's unpopular or anything like that. That I don't believe that at all. I think, as Paolo tells it, his first All-Star Weekend, Kevin Durant and Carmelo Anthony called him over and gave him advice. Everyone around the league wants this kid to be great. But you can't be in that pecking order if you aren't there. And look, Paolo's first All-Star game, as it is the case for everyone's first All-Star game, is I'm going to be kind of hands-off. I'm kind of learning the ropes. The weekend is a blur. All-Star games don't mean anything except they mean everything. And so when you watch this All-Star weekend, you see, like Luka and Jokic were obviously working through injuries. They were kind of off on the side. Giannis was involved in so many different things, even though he was injured. Steph Curry was involved in so many different things, even though he was injured. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was involved in a few things, even though he was injured, although he's mostly unbothered and does not care about having that attention on him. But you look around the All-Star weekend, you could tell these are the guys that are about to step up. These are the young players that are carrying the torch in the league. Like, yes, on the USA Stars team, I believe it was, LeBron is there and he soaked up his attention. Kawhi Leonard was the host, and everyone always tries to get the host their MVP. If Paolo or Franz are ever going to win an All-Star MVP, it'll be 2030 if and when Orlando gets an All-Star game that year. Just like the same year the Magic will win a championship. But Kawhi is clearly very respected and venerated. Donovan Mitchell had his moments, but at the end of the day, the star of stars of the All-Star game were Anthony Edwards, probably the best American basketball player in the league right now, Victor Wembanyama, who very quickly could become the best player in the world in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever it is, it's coming. And probably also Cade Cunningham. Now, it wasn't so long ago that Cade Cunningham was in the exact same spot that Paolo was in now. Horribly inefficient on a team that didn't really have direction, and the Magic have much more direction than those Pistons had. Still struggling with injuries, and now he is a top 5 MVP candidate, leading the number 1 team in the league. And, again, like JB Bickerstaff's staff won the All-Star game with Cade and Jalen Duren, and Duren had some moments in that All-Star game too, but it was clear like, oh, yeah, this is Ant's team. Like he's taking leadership and taking primacy on that team. But Cade is right there. And Cade made some great defensive plays in the All-Star game for whatever that's worth. The Magic, because they weren't there, we don't know where Paolo and Franz fit into the wider scheme of things. Is Franz, especially again, first All-Star game, your head spinning, you don't know where you are, but would Franz have been this super intense player that led the world or gave the world an edge to win one of their 2 games? Like Victor Wembanyama was going all out in this thing, all out. He wanted to win. That guy does not know how to play less than 100%. And Anthony Edwards said it after their first games, like Vic came out and played hard, and we all had to follow him. That's what I mean. You follow your leaders. And the All-Star game is you find out who the leaders in the league are. So what would Franz have looked like on that world team? Again, no offense to Denny Avdia, but I imagine he'd be much more impactful than Denny Avdia. I'd imagine he'd be much more impactful than Alperen Şengün, who's had a great season, had some ups and downs this year, but is having a great, great career. You can't tell me that Franz doesn't have a place on that world team, not at the level of Luka, not at the level of Jokic, not at the level of Wemby at this point. But certainly in that second tier of international players, we've seen him do that on the world stage with the German national team. And at some point, he's going to have to take leadership of that German national team. Dennis Schroeder will not be there forever. Probably has certainly another World Cup, maybe another Olympics. Franz has got at least 2 more Olympics beyond Los Angeles in 2028. Where does Paolo fit in with the U.S. team? And we're going to talk a little about his Team USA future here in a minute, because that was very much a storyline that NBC's broadcast was trying to play up, considering this was the lead into the primetime Olympic coverage. And honestly, like, as much as I wring my hands and worry about Paolo Banchero's play, this is ultimately what it comes down to. Like, this is ultimately why this matters. Because if you're going to be one of the best teams in the league, if you're going to win a championship, you have to have an all-NBA player. You have to have a player who elevates your team, who, when they get onto this stage, walks into that room with the best players in the league and says, I'm the best guy here. And here we are 4 years into Paolo's career. And like, look, Paolo has had some really big moments. Like, he is one of, no matter how you cut it, he is still one of the 10 best players under 25 in the league. He's still one of the best up and coming young players this league has to offer. But compared to the entirety of the league, he's nowhere near where Anthony Edwards was. Certainly not in confidence, not in bravado, not in kind of presence and aura, if you want to call it that. And that's, frankly, the best way I can describe what the Magic are missing from Paolo this year. It's a confidence and an aura. We know how good Paolo can be. And as critical as I've been of Paolo this year, and again, I hate that I'm making everything about Paolo because he deserves opportunities to fail. He deserves opportunities to grow. But the bottom line is this: your team goes as far as your best player takes you. Detroit was right not to give up on Cade Cunningham, but Cade was struggling as much as Paolo was struggling 2 years ago. Now, Cade is a year older than Paolo. So, again, we would have said, oh, this should have been last year's Cade. It's not. Maybe last season was last year's Cade. We'll never know because of the injuries. But this is what matters at the end. To be the best, you've got to be the best. You've got to have the best players. And certainly all-star bids come with winning. But look at Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was carrying that Stars team until Kawhi Leonard woke up. He knows he belongs on that stage. He has the confidence to know that he belongs on that stage. He doesn't have to prove anything. He owns that room as much as anybody on that team. And right now, again, your record tells you this, the Magic do not own that room. And that leads us to the next big marker. Is Paolo Banchero even going to be on Team USA for the World Cup in 2027? This game was a preview of that potential roster. We'll talk about Paolo's place in the USA landscape coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? I have. It is the best. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. The Magic, of course, sitting a game and a half out of six there. I'm starting to parse together these prediction models. I'm starting to figure out, okay, what's the number going to be to win the 6th seed? For the Magic, they are still in the running to win the finals. They're still plus 7,500 to win the finals. It's better than the Hornets, who are plus 10,000, better than the Heat. The Magic are still sitting in 6th among Eastern Conference favorites at plus 1,800. If you're looking at plus 50 at 50 regular season wins, the Magic are still at plus 850. There's still belief in the Magic. And if you believe in the Magic, you can put your money where your mouth is and potentially get tickets to the finals, which Magic may or may not be in to begin with. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. If you want an ad-free audio feed of this podcast or access to our members-only Discord, join our Everydayer Club today. You can join at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. Okay, let's talk World Cup, because I'm the only one that apparently cares about the World Cup. I'm the only one that is obsessed with off-year FIBA basketball. World Cup qualifying is currently going on. Good luck to the G League team on that. Trying to figure out who's going to be on this World Cup roster is going to be a big challenge for Grant Hill and conversely, Eric Spoelstra, who's going to be coaching these teams. All leading up to what should be a pretty high ticket, like everyone wants to go play Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles, the LA Olympics. Paolo Banchero talked to Olympics.com while the team was in London and mentioned that he would love to play on a West Coast Olympics. And frankly, after the 2024 Olympics, and certainly after the 2023 World Cup, it felt inevitable that Paolo Banchero would be on Team USA. In fact, him not choosing to play for Team Italy seemed like a bet from Team USA, who poached him from Team Italy, to say, we believe you're one of the best young players. We want you on our roster. We want to make sure you're on our roster. We're going to give you a roster spot, an uncomfortable roster spot on our World Cup team to make sure we have you because we believe in your potential. And Paolo sat there and probably weighed his option, was like, yeah, I'm going to play for Team USA. If I'm going to play international, because if he wasn't sure he's going to be on Team USA, go play for Team Italy and guarantee yourself playing in international basketball if that's what you want to do. Team USA is the most competitive team in the world, best players in the world, as they frankly apparently proved during the All-Star game when it was the two Team USA teams playing each other for the title. But the way the NBA constructed this All-Star game began to make it a little clear what the pecking order is for a potential World Cup roster in 2027. Now, don't take it as gospel. Don't take it as, oh, we're going to directly translate this to the World Cup. Like this wasn't a World Cup tryout. But the NBA is certainly going to, or Team USA is certainly going to look to fill a roster out this way. So if you look at the All-Star teams, this is how I would say it. Cade Cunningham, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, probably Jalen Duren, probably Chet Holmgren, probably Donovan Mitchell, maybe De'Aaron Fox. Fox might be on the older side. Let's just go with those seven, those eight. Seven. Cade Cunningham, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Duren, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, and Chet Holmgren. Those seven, I feel pretty confident will have a spot on Team USA if they want it. Now, again, Donovan Mitchell might be getting on the older side. Devin Booker might be getting on the older side. Some of them might decide, you know what? Count me in for LA. I don't need to go to Qatar for the 2027 World Cup. Guys like Jalen Brunson, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, I'm going to leave them off because of age. If Jaylen Brown wants a spot, I think he should get it. He probably should have gotten 2024, but there was some bad blood between him and Team USA. I don't know if he'll go for it this time. We don't have Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, both holdovers from the 2024 team. For a 12-man roster, you're already looking at 10 guys, if we're going to include Halliburton and Tatum, that are going to be on the Olympic roster. That leaves us only 2 open spots. And I'm not even counting potential role players like Derek White. I'm not even counting 2023 World Cup holdovers like Mikal Bridges, Austin Reeves, who's gotten a lot better since the 2023 World Cup when he really struggled, and Jaren Jackson Jr., in addition to Paolo Banchero. And we're not even counting potential young players like Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, Con Knipple, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, not to mention the rookies that are coming into this class, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanza, and Cameron Boozer, who could all easily make that roster. And then there's even non-All-Stars this season, or former All-Stars, like Jalen Williams, who probably should be on the team, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and I didn't even put this in my article, and I should have, Evan Mobley as well. And, of course, Team USA likes to have a role player in there, a guy who's comfortable not having the ball, since you have a lot of these all-star level players. Someone like, I don't know, Jalen Suggs might be good for Team USA as well, because he'll be a dogged defender, and he's proven himself a little bit better as a passer. You know, you have the spot for the honorary Drew Holiday. Jalen Suggs actually, I think, has a better chance than you think at making Team USA. But that leaves Paolo Banchero, like, on the bubble, on a very porous bubble. And if Paolo wants to play at the Olympics in 2028, unless he comes out next year and has an MVP level season, he's going to have to play at the World Cup in 2027 to prove himself. Now, Paolo already has a relationship with these guys because he played on the World Cup team in 2023. Greg Hill knows who he is. Eric Spoelstra knows who he is because he's an assistant coach on Steve Kerr's staff. You know, Jamal Mosley was on the select team. I imagine, you know, depending on what happens with Jamal here in the next couple months, I imagine Jamal Mosley will still be part of Team USA in some capacity, either coaching the select team or moving up to the assistant coach's bench. everyone in the Team USA program knows Paolo Banchero. And so, frankly, as it is with everything else, your success is determined by your play. And so if Paolo Banchero wants to get back into the Team USA mix, and like I said, I don't think it's impossible. Like, I didn't mention Jalen Johnson. I didn't mention Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty Barnes has a really good shot at making Team USA. But especially because of his versatility. Jalen Johnson, he's on the list. He'll stay on the list. But, again, if Paolo Banchero were healthy and had the season that we know he's capable of having, Jalen Johnson won't be an all-star next year. Paolo Banchero should be an all-star next year, as should Franz Wagner. The Magic should have 2 all-stars next year. Again, we'll see what happens, but it's all on Paolo to play his way in. This league wants Paolo to be good. As much as we're in our hands and there's this national narrative that Paolo isn't good or Paolo isn't contributing to winning. Frankly, yes, there's a lot of hate out there on the internet. And please, do not take my criticisms as hate. I love this kid. He has been nothing but good to the media. He has been nothing but a humble, eager to learn kid here in Orlando. He wants to be a star. He wants to be great. And he's figuring it out. He's 23 years old, and it's not easy. And maybe the Magic need a new coach and need some new ideas to help unlock his next level. That is certainly very much the case. And Paolo needs to kind of look himself in the mirror and figure out, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Again, if he is looking at his season and think everything's great and the problem is every other people, and I do not think that's the case. I think he understands he's not playing well. Then that's a problem with him, and that's a bigger problem the Magic need to solve. But this kid wants to be great, and frankly, while there is internet hate out there, I take a lot of the criticism toward him more as disappointment because we know how good you can be. We see the potential in you to be this top 10 all NBA level player. The Magic certainly see it. They gave him the Rose Rule Max. The Magic, the league, as much as anyone else, wants to see this kid be great. And they're going to give him every opportunity to do so. But he's got to go out and earn it. He's got to go out and take it. He's got to go out and prove himself. And so, look, All-Star games, Team USA, all that stuff is a reward for how well you are playing. It is not handed to you based on potential. It is a reward for how you are playing. And Paolo Banchero is still fighting to get that reward. He is capable. I want to make this very, very clear. He is capable. I believe in him. I believe in how good he is. And again, the depth of my disappointment in this season is because I know how good he can be. And I hope that's the same with you. Again, we could be stands, we could defend him, and please do. He deserves defense. He is not as bad as a lot of people say he is. But we also need to be able to challenge him to say, you can be so much more. And again, it's probably not going to happen this year. I think he'll come back. I think he'll have a good finish this season. But he's going to need to do some work in the offseason to kind of get back to the level that he was at last year and 2 years ago. And if he can do that, there'll be a spot on Team USA for him. But again, it's everything is earned. Let's talk then about All-Star Weekend in general. Did it actually work? I don't have my usual rant this year. Actually, I kind of do. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure is on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute, it's been less than a minute. Let me stall for a little bit. Let me get to a minute. But in the minute that I am reading this ad, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by friends over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They'll handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It is a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Longtime listeners of the show will know what this segment is about. It is time for my annual All-Star Game rant, where I tell you the All-Star Game doesn't matter. That everyone complaining about bad All-Star games and bad All-Star weekends is frankly missing the point of these weekends, and that in all likelihood, All-Star Weekend has outlived its usefulness. It's a nice little TV product to sell to the networks, because you're paying a ton of money for the right to air NBA games anyway. But the idea of an NBA All-Star game is just not important anymore. And the people who care most about this are people who are either trying to find something to complain about with the NBA, and that always seems to be the case. We go through these patterns every year. It's around after the deadline, everyone starts complaining about tanking and how the NBA's collective bargaining rules have kind of taken the fun out of the transaction period. Then people complain, the All-Star game isn't good enough. And then we get the playoffs, and the playoffs are great, and everybody's okay again. I'm tired of it. You're tired of it. We don't need to talk and go through that whole argument again, because the NBA actually created a compelling and fun NBA All-Star game. The 12-minute games, the 12-minute quarters were just enough to keep everybody's attention. Again, if a game got out of hand, it ended pretty quickly so we can move on and get to something that could simulate some competitiveness. And the games are so short and the quarters were so short, 12 minutes, but everything was so short that those competitive juices kicked in a lot earlier. The first three games of this round robin style of three teams going against each other, these first three games were highly competitive, coming down to the last shot in all three instances. It was Anthony Edwards hitting a game-winning three to give Team Stars the win over Team World in the first game. It was Team Stripes' who was it? It was who was it? It was I believe it was Scotty Barnes. No, Scotty Barnes hit the overtime winner. Anthony Edwards hit the overtime forcing shot in the first game. Again, this stuff doesn't matter. It was De'Aaron Fox hitting the three for Team Stripes to get the win in the second game, and then it was Team Stripes getting a huge clutch basket from Kawhi Leonard to get to the final, and then in the final, it was a blowout. And it was over so fast, it didn't matter that it was a blowout and that it looked like the All-Star games have passed. But we got a competitive game. We got guys whose juices were clearly flowing, that clearly wanted to make this important. And like I said before, you follow your leaders. And you see who the leaders in the league are by how they approach the All-Star game and whose energy goes with them. This worked. Now, will a Team USA versus Team World situation work every year? Maybe, maybe not. I think it made sense for this tournament because A, it's something everyone has wanted to see, and B, NBC has a lot of control over this. It was their lead into the Olympics, and I think they very much use this to promote the Milano Cortina Olympics that was coming on after the game, but also to begin previewing, like I mentioned, the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics that will be played. The basketball will be played at the Intuit Dome. I don't know what they're calling it for the Olympics because they can't use sponsor names for the Olympics, but it will be played in that very arena. And they made it a point to cross promote stuff that's going to be on their air to get you excited for that. So it would not shock me if we see Team USA versus World next year and certainly the year after. I certainly think we will see it in 2028 as sort of a preview of that tournament. It wouldn't completely shock me if the 2028 All-Star Game, they change the format again and make it literally Team USA versus the world, or Team USA versus the All-Stars, and name the U.S. roster for the Olympics on All-Star Weekend is a big bonus to the NBC TV partners. Did you see you can see the problems, like some of the rosters are just horribly imbalanced, too many bigs on one roster, not enough bigs on another. You can see how they could flip some things and maybe mix this up a little bit to be interesting. In fact, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but Team Stars and Team Stripes were sort of like the new generation and the OGs, like LeBron, Durant, all those guys were on the same team, whereas all the younger guys like Ant, like Cade, the guys who are going to be leading the next generation, Chet, they were all on another team. And so you could see that there's something there to play with each year to try and find the right mix to create competitive balance and also just create competition. Like, I don't think we will ever see, players not try when there's only 12 minutes. Especially because like you don't want to get embarrassed either. And 12 minutes is a short time and it's not a lot of effort. At the end of the day, the most you're playing is 3 quarters in this thing. And that doesn't take a whole lot of effort. So I do think there was something to this and the way that this was presented. And I do think that it was wildly successful. Now, I haven't been sitting around watching everyone react on the internet. I've talked to a few friends and saw a few reactions. And generally everyone was like, yeah, no, this is pretty good. Like, this is about as good as we can expect. We'll live with it. We'll be happy with it. And so I'm here to say it. This was a success. First time in a long time I've sat here and said the All-Star Game was a success. I liked when they did the Elam ending. I thought that was a success. This was a success. They found a way to make short games, keep everyone intrigued and interested. Now, other parts of All-Star Weekend, probably hit or miss. Three-point contest was a lot of fun. It was great to see Dame win. A lot of people were trashing the dunk contest. I thought the dunk contest was pretty good this year. Not an all-time dunk contest, obviously. The scoring was weird. I felt like the judges intentionally depressed the scores of the first 2 dunks, and that happened to be Carter Bryant and Jace Richardson. I thought Jace Richardson's opening dunk was fantastic. He essentially did a tribute to his father and did the off the backboard 360 that his father did back in, I believe it was 2001 or 2002. Jace obviously had that scary fall. He tried to do a off the side of the backboard, catch it in air 360. He shared video of him in practice completing it. Pretty nice dunk, especially a little guy doing that. And on his second attempt, he caught the ball and it didn't clear the backboard, and he grabbed it and it hit the backboard and he fell directly on his back. Popped right back up. Seemed to be no worse for the wear. He still did like a standing 360, which was ridiculously impressive. It did get the lowest score of the dunk contest. Jace officially finished in last. I did not think he was the worst dunker. I thought Jackson Hayes was the worst dunker. Jackson Hayes certainly had the worst dunk of the evening. But Jace, because he needed all 3 attempts, got the lowest score for that second dunk. I thought that was undeserved. I thought that, again, like obviously you dock points because it took him multiple attempts. But I still thought he put on a fantastic backup dunk. And he said he had some fun stuff planned if he had made it to the finals. But generally, I think Jace acquitted himself well. Like, again, he fell hard on his back, got back up, and still did a nice dunk. And so I applaud Jace for being daring, being inventive, being audacious with what he was trying to do. But B, I also applaud him for entering the contest and giving us something and trying to do something. So, frankly, a lot to like from him there. The dunk contest was fine. I thought Keshad Johnson was the correct winner, and frankly, Keshad Johnson and Carter Bryant were the right 2 guys in the finals. The dunk contest lost steam because Carter Bryant missed his dunk, his first 2 attempts on his last dunk. And if we would have seen him complete that on his last dunk, people would have said like, okay, that was fine. It was okay. Um, I think people are clowning on it because it was anticlimactic ending and because of Jace's fall, which again, I was still impressed that he got back up and did a nice dunk after falling on his back, like squarely on his back, like wrestling fall on his back. Um, I don't know what people want from these events. I think ultimately people want stars in the dunk contest, and that's why they're not happy with it. But again, like I don't know what people want from this event. Generally, I think it was a fantastic, it was a solid All Star weekend. I won't say it was a fantastic All Star weekend. Certainly not an all timer. Um, I took it as a weekend off. Like I didn't watch any of the Friday night events, which I usually do. I didn't. I was watching Saturday. I was watching all the Saturday events, but I was also at the UCF game watching them. And then like All Star game was the All Star game. Like it's fine. It was better than it usually is, but it's not like I'm not hand over foot for it. I am ready. I am taking the weekend off. I'm not thinking too hard about things. I'm gonna go watch a movie while I'm editing this podcast, which I don't get to do very much during the season. Um, and I'm getting ready for the second half of the season. So let's take deep breaths. All Star weekend was fun. It's supposed to be fun. Don't think too hard about it. And let's move on and get ready for the second half of the season because that's what we're talking about the rest of the week. We're going to be back tomorrow. We'll chat about what the Magic have to do to accomplish their goals for the rest of the season. We'll get to that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Emily, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of my sale-alone podcasts to your podcast-enabled device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub, or check out our Everydayer Club at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. With the Everydayer Club, you get access to an ad-free audio feed of this podcast, plus access to our Locked On Discord server with access to the Locked On Magic channel, as well as the National NBA channel too. Check it out at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Like I said, tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about what the Magic need to do to accomplish their goals for the rest of the season. And again, small potatoes. I agree that the goal for the rest of the season is to get the 6th seed. We'll talk about what the Magic have to do to get there tomorrow. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.